about controlling, that means how do we run a single test case? How do we run skip a test case? How do we mark the test case as fail, and so on is what we have seen in our previous session. In our session today, we'll be talking about different tags. How do we add a test case to a different tags? So when we talk about different tags, that can be, let's say, the test case that you have written over here. Some test case can be a part of your smoke testing, like let's say example, valid test scenario is working or not. Some test case can be only a part of the regression testing, example, invalid login scenarios. And some test case can be a part of both smoke and regression suite as well. Smoke means the major functionality that you have to check. Example, whether you are able to order the product or not, whether you are able to log in inside the application or not, whether you are able to add the make an order or not, right? So those kind of things becomes a part of the major functionality. So whatever the major functionality will be there inside the application, that is what comes under the smoke testing, which will be running. Probably every organization will have different kind of scenarios. Smoke testing in the standard format, every organization will be running on a daily basis, which might have like 100 or 200 or 500 test cases. And when we talk about the regression testing, regression means every scenario, even like a very simple scenarios to validate whether something is visible on the application or not. Those comes under the regression scenarios. That means complete functionalities. Overall, complete functionalities in terms of a test case for the product will come under the regression testing. And that might be having like, let's say 500,000 test cases to 2000, depending on how large your application is, right? So some organization runs again that as well on the daily basis. Some organization runs twice a week, and some organization also runs with once in a week as well. So it depends on what organization is following. That is what will go inside the regression scenarios in those things. Okay. Also, whenever you think that something is not understandable, stop in between so that I'll again um, make sure to make you understand over here. Now, when we talk about running our test case, right? So we have written some script over here. So this is inside the package.json. There is a key known as script. Inside this key, we can write all the scripts that we have to run generally. So how do we run the test case is by using npx playwright test, right? So we generally say it as npx playwright test, and whatever the number of test cases that are available inside our system, that will run in a ordered manner, right? One by one, all the test cases, or if you are running in a parallel mode, then parallelly it will start execution of all the test cases, right? So every time if you do not want to write like npx playwright test, what we can do is we can write this script over here saying that, let's say example, a full test case. Okay, and there we can simply set it as, let's say, uh, we can write some script over here saying that npx playwright test. How do we run our test case, the complete suite over here? By using npx playwright test. So the same command, we can also write it over here. And how do we run this test case? By making it as npx playwright test. It's something that we can run by using npm command. npm run, and then the key that you have written inside the scripts. This is key and this is value. So the key that you have written inside the script will run in a will basically instead of running and using npx, we can simply run by using npm. What is npm? Npm will come along with the node.js installation, right? And you have mentioned it's what to run, the key that you have mentioned over here. So what it will do is at the time of execution of the test case, it will contact this particular key wherever we have written, and from there, whatever we have given as a part of the command, that it will start running. So if you see over here, it will first go to the, see, it is going to the this one, and then from there, it has already picked up the command that you have given over here. Okay, so whatever the test case that we are trying to run in this case, if you can see, like there are 14 test cases that we have given over here. Let me stop the execution. So we have given 14 test cases over here, which started running one by one in this case. Because my system will not be able to handle like completely 10, we'll just make it as for now 1, and you'll see that all the test cases will start running in parallel mode, sequential order right now. But this script that you see is available as an object, which consists of again key and value pair, and that whatever key that you provide over here, you can pass it inside the npm run, and whatever again that command that you have given will start running those commands over there. Okay, so again in that case, what will happen is the same test case will again start running. However, we were trying to write the command which is like npx playwright text. Instead of that, we can simply say it as npm run and then key of the path. Example, let's say test queue. So in this case, it will only start running the test case that are available inside this particular command. Okay, for now, what I'll do is I'll make it as headless as true so that uh, the execution will happen, but it will not open the browser over here. So in this case, if you see, it has gone to this particular command that we have written inside the package.json, and then it started working on the test case, whatever the number of test cases that we have given. If you want to run in a parallel, we can just make it as more than one. Okay. Now, these test cases, we have not tagged anything yet. So if you see inside this, everything is in the same way, which is nothing have been tagged over here. Nothing have been tagged over here. That means all the test case will run whenever you say npx playwright test. Right? Every test case that are available inside our framework or as a part of the test case will start running whenever we say it as npx playwright test or npm run and full test case over here. Now let's say if I just have to run only the test case which is a part of smoke testing, or only the test case which is a part of regression testing, right? Or you can basically mark the test case as in one test case can also be a part of the more than one tag as well. That means one test case can be a part of smoke, and the same test case can also be a part of the regression testing as well, right? So how do we run the test case in that way? What we'll see as a first topic in our session today, and that is known as tags. Okay. Now these tags can be, let's say, smoke, regression, and then there can be like, let's say, E to E scenarios, end-to-end automation. Like it can be a part of like API testing. If everything we are writing in a same line, then it can be also part of the API testing as well, right? So those kind of tag we can basically tag to the test cases inside, tag basically to the test case, right? Okay, so so let's go ahead and see how do we tag the test case. I'll also take you to the Playwright specific website that we have, which will, so I'll also take you to the Playwright specific things, which is tags and Playwright. And before that, uh, earlier, when we started writing the test case, any of the test case, how do we write the test case is by using test function over here, right? So it says that this test function can accept either a two different parameters over here, or it can also take a three different parameters. And in this case, we have a details as an optional parameter, right? Details, we have an optional parameter here, right? And inside this detail, we have never given any kind of thing. So what did we do till now is a title and then the function over here, right? Always we have written in the same way, which is title and then function. The details that you see over here, The details that you see over here is what we are generally looking into for addition of like any kind of details that you can provide for the test case. Any kind of details that you can provide for the test case. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay, so let me open the tags over here, tags in Playwright, and let's go to there as well inside the Playwright. So there are two ways in which we can tag a test case. There are two ways in which we can tag a test case. Any of the test case, whenever you want to tag to, let's say, any kind of things, either a smoke part, regression part, or API part, we can tag a test case in a different ways. So that is what we are currently talking about. One is tagging a test case over here. So how do we tag the test case? There are two ways in which we can tag the test case to a part of any kind. It can be a part of any kind of suite. Can be a smoke, can be regression, can be E2E, can be API testing, and so on. But how do we tag that? So there are two ways in which we can tag any of the test case. There are two ways. One, the first way is we can directly include the tag in the test, or we can use the annotations. Okay, now what is that? So that means whenever you want to tag the test case, right, either it is a part of smoke or regression, what you can do is you can just mention it as @smoke in the title itself. In the title itself, you can simply say it as @smoke or @regression or @API. Okay, you can also mark it as smoke, regression, and so on. And here as well, you can mark it as @regression. So whenever you are tagging the test case, whenever you are trying to tag a test case, the simple way is you can simply write it inside the title itself, right? Inside the title, whatever the tag that you are trying to give the name over here, either a regression or smoke or API, any kind of things that you are trying to provide, you can simply provide it over here saying that the tag name, but before that, you'll also have to say it as @ okay, @ tag. It is not mandatory that it should have to be in the initial stage itself. It can be in the middle as well. But it's always better to write either after a test case, like after the title completes over here, or before the title starts. Writing in between will not look good. So either we can in write it in before starting the title of the test case or after completion of title of the test case. This is one way. This will also work over here. This is one way. This will also work over here. But how do we run the test case? Right? How do we run the test case? Let's say if I have to only take care of smoke suit. If we have to just take care of the tags that are available as a smoke tag over here, or if you have to just run the test case which are basically tagged with smoke test case. Okay. I'll show you as well the second way of writing the test case. I'll show you, but let's see whether it is working or not. So inside the test title, I hope you people are able to see my screen, right? Can someone please answer?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Right,
Praveen.
right. So if you see, like inside the title of the test case, you can also write it as at the rate the suit name or the tag name that you are trying to write, and again at the rate regression. How do we basically run only those test case which is a part of smoke scenarios? So currently we have only one test case that have been tagged with smoke tag and only one test case that have been tagged with regression tag. But how do we run the test case, or how do we execute the test case which will only run with having a tag as smoke or with having a tag as regression, right? So it's pretty simple again. So what we have to do is, what is this npx playwright test? So npx playwright test will run all the test cases that are available inside our framework or project, right? That we are aware of. From these, from all the test cases, npx playwright says npx playwright test will run all the test cases, right? As we have seen over here inside the package.json. When you see it as a full test case, that means npx playwright test will run all the test cases that are available inside test case, inside your project, inside your framework. Out of these test case, we have to filter out only the value, only the test case which have been marked with certain tags, right? So to filter out, we have a command known as minus minus grep, grep. Grep basically help us in filtering out the test case, filtering out the values depending on some tags that you are trying to run over here.
It is Unix command, right?
Right, that's a Unix command.
Find grep means it will
Right,
search for a tag.
correct. Right. Okay. So npx playwright test, when you say minus minus grep is something which will help us in filtering out something depending on some values. So when you, if you see over here, it says that grep minus using minus minus grep command, we can run any of the test case, whichever we are trying to search in. So if you are trying to run, let's say, a test case that is having a tag name as smoke, right? So you can simply say it as npx playwright test space minus minus grep and then the tag name that you are trying to run. And how will you run that? Inside, whenever you are trying to run inside your PowerShell, that means inside your terminal, you just have to say it as inside the single quote or double quote with the tag name you have to run. But generally, whenever we try to run inside the CI/CD pipeline, will pick it up everything from here, right? From the script. So for that, we can say it as, let's say, test colon only smoke test related, only run the test case which is a part of smoke. So here, how do we basically write the command is in this way, which is npx playwright test minus minus grep, and then you have to provide it as at the rate smoke. Here we do not have to mention inside a single quote or double quote, because everything we are writing either inside a single quote, basically you have to write it inside the double quote over here. In general, you will have to write it inside the double quote over here whenever you are trying to write inside this script. So inside this script, you have to write the value key and value both in terms of a double quote. And as we are already writing inside the double quote, so we do not have to make this tag to run inside the single quote or double quote as we have written over here. Inside the terminal, we are saying these command, and out of this, we are saying that only get me the value which is having a tag as smoke. Get me the test case, which is a part of smoke tag over here. Okay, and when you hit enter, in this case, you will see that this will return us only those test case which have been marked with test. So earlier we had seen that npx playwright test were able to identify 14 different test case, but now currently it is only having one particular test case, right? And if you, I have just made it as headless equals to true, so that every test case is running in a headed mode. But if you see over here, you will see that inside the report that it generates, it says that it is having a tag as smoke tag. You see this one, this is a part of smoke, so it has been generated over here as a smoke tag. Okay, so it also generates the tag that you have running with browser and then tag
Can we
name.
give the tag? Uh, we gave now the tag in front of the title, right? So can we give the same tag in between or end of the title?
Yeah, that is what I have mentioned. You can give inside the title anywhere, either in
Okay.
starting, either in between, or at the end of the title as well. Right.
Okay.
So this is how we generally try to run. And let's say whenever you have to run the regression test case, right? Let's say we have just run it with smoke, but if you want to also run it with regression, you can simply change it with regression over here, and which will also run in the same way. It will just pick it up the regression part. So it says that invalid login scenario, right? And that is what the test case we have marked it with, invalid login scenario, having a title as regression, no, a tag as regression. Okay, but this is not limited. Probably this scenario can also be a part of the regression as well, right? And later, let's say we can have this particular test case also part of the regression. Okay, and this test case as also part of the smoke, right? So this is one way of writing. I'll come to what I was trying to say, like a test case can be a part of more than one tag as well, right? So this is one way we can write the tag, which is at the rate regression in the title itself. And second way of writing the title is, or the tag is, we can include as a second parameter inside the test type, inside the test. If you see second parameter, it says that details over here. Okay, so there are overloaded function that it has given. One is test having a title and body, and second is a test having a title, details, and body as well. Okay, so here in this case, we can also provide the tags. If you want to provide the tags, that is an optional parameter, so we have to provide it inside the curly braces, and you can also mark it in this way as well for the tags. Okay, now how do we mark this? So let's say, for example, this one. So you have to write it if you are trying to write inside the test function. Inside the test title, you are free to write anywhere inside the test title. And inside the test case, inside the test function, whenever you are trying to write, you have to provide it as a second parameter always. You have to provide it as a second parameter, and it should be inside the curly braces because these are optional parameters. Okay, and now you can say it as tag. And then again, however we have written in the same way, you just have to write it inside the single quote or double quote and say it as, let's say, smoke. Okay. And for example, for this one, if you want to write, you can also write it in the same way, which is like, let's say, at the rate regression over here. Okay. And separate it with a comma. So this is second way where you can also tag. And this is the standard way that we follow inside the organization, where you are mentioning, where you are also saying as a tag, as a key as tag, and then value, you can mention it over here. Okay, let's say for this one, this test case, we have again couple of test case over here. So inside this, we can mark these two test case as a part of both smoke and regression. So how do we do that? One single addition of a tag, we know we can simply make it as inside the curly braces tag colon, inside the again single quote, make it as a smoke. So this becomes one single test case. But what if I have to provide in the form of multiple tags in a single test case? So one way we had seen that we can also include at the rate smoke, at the rate regression. So this test case becomes the part of both of the test case. But how do we provide it in terms of whenever we have to write it by using tag colon? Right? So here you have to, whenever you are trying to write multiple tags, at that point of time, you have to include it inside the, hello, at that point of time, you have to include it inside the array, right? right? So there you can simply say it as @regression. Okay, so you have to make it inside the array, which will be inside the square bracket, and all the tags that you're providing over here should be separated with a semi or comma symbol. Okay. Now here also we can make the similar kind of things. Let's say this is also a part of both of the test case. So here again, both of the suit. So we can simply say it as smoke, and then um, make it as a part of regression as well. So @regression. Okay. So again, here you have to put it inside the array. So whenever you are trying to provide the test case that are a part of both smoke and regression, we can make it inside the square bracket. That means inside the array format. Okay. And again, here we also have some of the test case, right? So here also, either way you can provide. So let's provide for all the 14 test cases that are available over here. And however you have provided like smoke, regression, and API, you can provide it in the same way. Okay. So after providing all the, okay, let's go one by one. We do not have anything over here. We have marked it as regression, smoke. In this, we have marked it as again smoke and regression. This we do not have anything inside this. Both of the test case are part of both, and here also make it as a part of both of the test case. So we'll say it as simply inside this, make it as a tag, and this is like standard way of writing the tags over here inside the test case. Whenever you make it as, we can make it as like this inside the test case, and here as well make it at like this. So if you see in this total test case, total there are 14 test cases that it says, because we also have a data driven testing over here. Out of that, we have a smoke 1, regression 1, regression 2, regression 3, regression 4, and a smoke become 3 over here. 4 regression and 3 smoke, and then again 6 regression and 5 smoke over here. And then we have smoke, smoke. So 7 and 6 becomes regression and smoke. And then we have 8 and 7. So there are total 8 regression and 7. Basically, where do we have that? So there are 8 regression tags, and then we have a 7 different smoke tag. But again, there will be a different test scenarios as well, which is like when we talk about data driven testing, there comes like the different kinds of test cases as well. Let's also check if we have anything which is marked as a part of skip or only test case. So we do not have any test case that have been marked as skip over here. Just remove this. And this one is also okay. So now when you try to run the test case, right? So let's say, just say it as npx playwright test, right? So if you see, it says that 14, I believe, but it says that 14, but somehow, okay. So there are regression test case are marked on different, so that have also been counted as one. So it says that, okay, there are 18 test case, which is having a total over here, which also counts like regression, like data driven testing as well. Okay, so this also counts as a data driven testing, but in general, we have 1, 2 inside this, 2 inside this, 2 inside this, 2 inside this, so 8, and then 2 inside this, so total 10. But in by counting a regression test case, we like data driven testing, we have total 18 test cases are over here. Now let's see if you just want to run one single tag test case, which is regression tag, right? So we have seen that, so it says that there are 14 test cases which have been marked with a regression. Why? Because there are data driven testing as well on some of the test cases. Example, this one, this is a part of, again, data driven testing. Not this one, but this one is a part of data driven testing, where we have also marked it as regression. This one is also part of data-driven testing, where we also have marked with regression and so on. Okay, so it says that there are 14 test cases as a part of regression scenarios. And what about the smoke? Let's also try to check what about the smoke it is saying. So for the smoke as well, we have a 13 test cases which have been marked with along with the data-driven testing. Okay, now let's say if I just have to run a test case which have been marked with, we have seen like how do we run the test case which is having a tag as smoke or tag as regression. But how about the test case which have been marked with either smoke or a regression? Either a smoke or regression. Right? So how do we check the test case which have been marked with either smoke or regression? So this can come under that as well, which is either smoke or regression. Either smoke or regression. Every test case will come under this because every test case have either marked with a smoke or marked with uh, uh, something known as regression, right? So how do we check that? How do we again run those kind of test case? So let me we have written this part of the smoke. So let's also include as a part of regression over here as well. So regression means we can simply run it as npx playwright test space hyphen hyphen grep at the rate regression. Okay, but what if I have to run the test case which are either a part of smoke or a part of regression? Okay, so let's go over here and see how it says. And also you can also do an invert. Invert means skip those test case. Skip those tagged test case. So when you say, let's say, when you say it as smoke, we have just seen that it was saying there are 13 test case, right? And for regression, it was saying 14 test case, right? And if you just mark it as grep, which is like invert over here, minus invert. Minus invert means whatever the tag that you have, out of all those tags, just skip the tag test case which have been marked with smoke tag. Invert means skip those test cases. Apart from this, run all the other test case which have been marked with other than smoke tag. So in this case, if you see, as we have given minus invert over here, in this case, it will just skip the tag, skip the test case that have been marked with smoke tag. So in this case, if you see, it is saying that there are only 5 test cases are available which have been marked with specifically regression tag. So let's see over here. So this test case is one which have been marked with regression. This test case is one which is two. The total test case have been marked with two. These are again a part of smoke, so these will be removed over here. These will not be considered because those comes under a part of regression as well, smoke as well. So these will again not be considered over here. And then we have one test case over here, which is three. And out of that, one is for the data-driven testing. So if you see, this test case is for data-driven testing, where we have 3 different test cases. So that's where it was saying 5 test cases which have been marked as only the regression. So when you say invert, that means those test cases which have been marked with these tag will be skipped. Okay. Now, what about the test case if I have run it in a OR fashion? That means either smoke or regression. Okay, so how do we run the test case which have been marked with either smoke or regression scenarios, right? So in that case, we can simply say it as npx playwright test minus minus grep, and then only run those test case which are either a part of regression or a part of smoke scenarios over here, which are either a part of smoke. Pipe symbol that you see over here represents as or symbol. Pipe symbol that you see over here represents as or symbol in this case. Okay, so So you can run this test case, and this in this case it will say that okay, there are total 18 test cases are available, which is either have been marked as smoke test case or have been marked as regression test case. So what is meant by this? Even the smoke tag test case will come into picture, and also the regression tag test case will come into picture. So it says either marked with smoke or have been marked with regression tag. And we know that earlier, in this case, if you see, what is meant by that? Okay, let's again try to understand. So when you say smoke or regression, inside our test case, we have marked all the test case as either a part of smoke or a part of regression, right? And that is where it says that total 18 test case. If you see over here, it says that 18, right? Just remember that it says that 18 test case over here. Now just do an npx playwright test, which will run the entire test case. In this, without considering any of the tag test case. Here also you can see that it says 18 test case, right? That means when you mark it as either smoke or regression, then in that case it will consider the test case which have been marked with either a smoke or a regression. If you have marked all the test case only as a part of either smoke or regression, that means all the test case will run over there. Okay, but there can be a scenario that, let's say, this test case have been marked with API tag. So in this case, this test case will not run. And again, when you just say it as smoke or regression, now you will see that it will run only 17 test case, or probably less than that, because this is a data-driven testing. So it says that 15 test case over here. Because this comes under the data-driven testing, so we have three different data. So test case have been removed as a part of smoke or regression. Okay. So this is something that whenever you have to run either part, either run a smoke test case or run a regression test case. But what if I have to run only those test cases which basically have been marked with smoke and regression? But generally speaking, these are the combination that we are trying to check over here. In general, inside the organization, either you will be running, either you will be running this uh, this tag, which is smoke, or a part of regression. There will not be a condition where you have to check with or condition either smoke or regression, or and condition either smoke and regression. That means a smoke and regression both scenario. There will be only one scenario when we have to either run smoke tag test case or regression tag test. That means either a part of smoke fully run with a smoke or fully run with a regression test case. Now, what if we have to run in terms of an AND logical operator? That means only run those test cases which are a part of both different tags, both of the tags, which is, let's say in our case, which is part of smoke and regression. Then in that case, we have to write a regex over here. Regex, that means it says that find out the test title, find out. This means that find out the test title, which is having a at the rate fast or at the rate slow tag over here. In this case, that it is trying to find out. Okay, so whenever we have to run the test case, which are which are a part of both regression and smoke scenario, we can simply say it as smoke, or and make it as a regression. So here we have, if you see the difference in this case, we have not given any. We have not given basically pipe symbol over here. Pipe means or. Whenever you have to run or, then that becomes a pipe symbol over here we have to provide. But in terms of and, you just have to say it as question mark equals to dot. And this is star symbol that you see is a wildcard symbol. That means it will search out your test title. It will search out your test title having a tag as regression and having a tag as smoke over here. Question mark, that means question mark means it is trying to search where inside the test title, what the regression tag and the smoke tag. In this case, when you try to run this, you'll see that either it will run only those test cases which have been marked with smoke and regression. Smoke and regression. Now let's go ahead Now let's go ahead over here and then see. Okay. So, so if you see over here in this case, it is this particular test case is having smoke and regression, smoke and regression. So 3 and 3 becomes 6 test case over here because this is a data driven testing. And then we also have a smoke and regression test case over here, which again becomes like here as well we have. Okay. Okay, so here again, 6 test case over there, and then we have one test case as a part of this. We have to write it inside the test. And then we have one test case over here, so total becomes 8. And we have one more over here, which is a 9 test case. And that is where it says that a 9 test case as a part of um, uh, both smoke and regression. Okay, so that is how we work with, in general, that is how we work with the tagging. Whenever you have to tag a test case, you can simply tag it in that way. Okay, so that's about tagging a test case in terms of test automation inside the Playwright. Okay, now let's check out the other scenario that we were having. One is an notation that we have just seen. A couple of the things were there we have written somewhere. Okay, so this is basically a part of the tag one over here. Now there are two things that is again important in our session over here. GitHub will go at the end, but before going to the Jenkins, Allure report. Let's talk about how do we till now. If you see, we have just generated an HTML report, and that too by default it generates over here, right? Reported colon HTML, and that by default generates the value over here in this case, which is HTML report. Now, how do we, whenever we have to generate the report, which is, let's say, Allure report, how do we do that? Right. So let's first go to the reports in Playwright. Playwright by default supports different types of reports, which is list report, list report, line report. List report means it will display it in this way, that the total number of test case, which is first pass, second pass, third pass, and so on. This is how it will generate the report. Let me show you once. So I'll just copy this over here. Reporter equals to list. You can also mark it as here as well. And whenever you have given one report to generate, you can directly provide it. If you have a multiple report to generate, then you have to provide it in a two-dimensional array. That means inside an array, you have to also provide this one. If you are again trying to provide another, that will also go as a part of array list as well, which is this one. So when you say like this, that means this is an outer array which consists of all the different types of report. And this is an inner array which consists of the different reports that we are trying to generate. So when you see it as a list, right? So in this case, what happened is, let me um, let's run it as a part of parallel testing so that it will run over here. We'll say it as minus minus grep minus as a part of the smoke over here. And then we are again, you can remove this reporter, but I'm just trying to write it over here as well. Minus minus reporter equals to list. That means what will happen in this case is the report will generate in this format, which is there were total test cases, whatever the test case that were there, it will just say it as running these many test case using so on so, and you see like this kind of report will be generated. One pass, two pass, three pass, and so on. Whichever will be failed, that will be marked as failed over here in this case. And all the test report have been generated. So this is what the line report is. But nothing will be generated in this case um, as it generates as a part of HTML. This is a line report. This is a line report that we have to generate, that we can see. This is just a report that it has generated over here. That is called a line report. It will not generate any HTML reporting kind of things and so on. That is basically not a line, but a list report over there. Okay. Then we have other report, which is also known as a line report. So line report, in this case, it will just display you how many test cases have been passed, have been failed, and so on, like this kind of things. The report it will generate, which is one a part of test case, whatever the test case were there, then 2, 3, and so on. It will keep on generating. However, it had generated in this way, marking at a 1. It will generate in the line way, which is dot 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 kind of report will be generated. Now let's say it as a line report. These are not important again, but let's check what is happening in this case. When you see it as a line report, earlier we had seen a list report. Inside the line report, by default, it will also having a line report every time. So you can just check it, or it says that like these test cases. 10 test cases have been part, and it was displaying as a part of like this over here, like 23 by 125 by 10, 2 by 10, and so on was displaying over there. That is what the line report is. We also have a dot report. Dot report will generate in this way. Simple dot annotation. Simple. Whichever will be failed, for those it will mark it as F over here, which is failed. This dot means passed, F means failed. Cross marks means something which have been timed out. Flaky means plus and minus. Timeout means T, and then skip means a simple this white color dot over here for the dot. HTML we have already seen many a times, like how does it generate HTML. And then there are a couple of other, which is blob, JSON. These are not important again in terms of generating JUnit report that we can also generate. And GitHub Actions report will also be supported over here. Okay. But now the main important things is, apart from these reports, apart from these by default report that Playwright selects, which is list.html, blob, JSON, and other, it also suggests, it also supports these kind of report, which is Allure, GitHub Actions, Mail Reporter, Monocart as well. Monocart is also becoming popular nowadays after sunsetting the extent report. But Allure report is one that is basically being followed by most of the organization. Any question over here? I think someone is unmuted.
Praveen, that monocot, what is it?
This is also one of a report. Now it have been came into picture recently, but this also generates a good kind of report over here. Like this kind of report, it will be generated inside the monocart. Okay. So for monocart, I'll create a video and will probably share it with you.
Yeah, sure.
But this is again simple. You can also try it out. However, we are trying to check for the Allure report in the same way we have to do for monocart as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and see how do we gen. So by default, Playwright will not support Allure report, will not support monocart report. It has some that it can support by installing those report. Whenever you have to install something in terms of an Allure report, you have to install Allure Playwright. In terms of monocart report, you have to install monocart reporter over here. Okay, but let's see how do we generate the Allure report in this case. You all should be having the document of this particular document, which is basically an automation document that we have given for the Playwright. And here also you can check all the things that you have to generate in terms of reporting. If you just follow this document, it will be enough to see how do we generate the report. It will be 100% enough to see, to basically generate the Allure report. Okay, always remember that to generate an Allure report, we also need to have Java installed in our system. To generate an Allure report, we also need to have Java installed in our system. Okay. Now,
What about monocard?
Manukat, I
Do
have
we
not gone through.
require
I've not gone through yet. It basically came recently in the picture, which have been supported by the Playwright as well. So I'll also have to go through and will let you know regarding that. I'll create a video and in that I'll explain.
okay.
But a like any kind of report that generates monocard should also require Java. I believe, I cannot comment right now, but I believe that should also require a Java installation as well. Okay, so just follow these and we'll reach to the generation of an Allure report. Let's see how it goes. So it says that go to an ID, open a project, open a terminal. So let's go to that. We already have a terminal open over here. So I am on the terminal right now. I am on the terminal over here. That means we are on the terminal. Then it says that install the Allure report command line tool. We also have to install two things over here. One is command line and second is Allure adapter. Allure adapter is one which will generate the Allure report for us. If it is not yet installed in your operating system, then we also have to basically install the Allure report. If it is not have been installed directly or by you, then you have to install this one first as a command line, which is Allure report command line. Allure report command line is the one that we require. Note, Allure report requires Java installation as well. Okay, so to generate the Allure report, as we know that this is again we are working with a JavaScript and TypeScript, and this is also available inside a JavaScript and TypeScript. So we can simply go ahead and use the npm command to install this. And how do we do that? Npm install Allure minus command line. If you save it as, if you say at minus minus save minus div, then it will automatically install it and place it inside our package.json over here as well. You will see like in next couple of minutes, once we install this, this will get placed over here. So npm install and then Allure minus command line. And it says that it have been generated and you can see that it have also been placed inside the package.json. Right. So that is a second command. That is a second step that we have to follow. I'll suggest just follow this and this will take you to the Allure report generation. Third part is that we require an Allure Playwright adapter. What is this? This will help us in generating the report inside an Playwright. That means inside the Playwright test automation, whatever we are trying to do over here, it will go and generate us the Playwright report for Allure report for the Playwright over here. For that, again, you have to say it as npm install Allure minus report. Or you can just copy paste this. This will also install the same thing and will also add it over here saying that Allure minus Playwright. Allure Playwright installed successfully. Okay, this is the first one. Before like XLSX we had installed, but apart from this, XLSX and Allure is the one that we have installed till now to work with Playwright. These are only the two things that we require to work with, complete work with Playwright. One is an Allure report support if you want to generate, and second is to work with Excel. We require that things. Then the next step, it says that go to playwright config.js or ts, whichever file that you are working with, and add the below text for the reporter key. So it says that this one. So we already have let's go to the Playwright config. We already have HTML and then list. Okay. List is something we do not require. We can simply change it to a line report over here. To generate an Allure report, we also require a line report to be generated first. To generate an Allure report, we also require line report to be generated first. What is line report? Line report says us, let's say 10 test cases have been executed. Out of that, 8 passed and 2 failed. And from that total 10 passed 8 and failed 2, from that number, Allure report will generate the total number of test cases ran, total passed, and total failed. So Allure report basically depends on the line report over here. Whatever line report gives us the result, on top of that, the Allure report will be generated. So what it says is just go to the reporter and copy paste this inside the configuration file. That means we are now trying to generate a multiple reports over here. Multiple reports inside this. So we have given HTML, second line, and third Allure, and then we have an order array as well. So all these values that we are trying to generate will be one inside the array, and second, every report that we are trying to generate will be in the form of array over here. Okay. Now we do not have to do anything. That's it. Everything will be taken care automatically. In terms of Selenium, if you have to generate an Allure report, you have to write the test start, test end, different kind of steps like test skip, test execution, on test, pass test case, skipped, and so on, right? So different kinds of state that we have to provide. Here we do not have to write anything now. Nothing we have to write it in this case. Go to the 5th line. It says that run the test case now. So let's execute the test case, which is a part of smoke over here. So just say it as smoke. You can run all the test case as well. You can run all the test case as well. There is nothing to worry of. There is nothing to only select, sorry, not to worry of. There is nothing to select a test case which have been a part of any tag. But just to short it out, I'm trying to run the test case, which is a part of smoke test case over here. So it says that 10 test case, so that the execution will finish it off as soon as possible and will be able to also see the results. As soon as it started execution, right? So currently, if you see, we have node modules, pages, Playwright report, test result, test data, and so on. And you see, it started generation of Allure results over here. Tests have been completed. You can also see that it has generated the reports, which is HTML, which by default it does. It will continue to do that because we have written HTML. So it has written everything over here. We have tag as well, all the test case which have been marked with whatever the tag that are available over here. And everything it has written in the same way, which is all test, pass, test, zero flaky, zero script, and so on. Okay. Now let's again go back to our documentation, what it says. By default, Allure will generate a report inside the folder as Allure results. Let's check it out whether it has generated or not. So we have an Allure results available over here. These are the things that are available inside Allure report. Now do not worry, every time it will override the previous result. If you want to keep it out, you can also basically make this one as a parameterized, so it will keep on generating. You can mention a path over here wherever you want to generate the path inside this, and that path you can make it as a parameter saying that date, month, or date and time in the seconds. So seconds will keep on changing, so it will keep on generating the new, but it will by default override the previous result. Now, okay, let me close it out. Has generated this report. Okay, it's fine. But how do we open this report? How do we do? You cannot do like path. Then you cannot do this. This you can do in terms of an HTML report, but it will display in like this, which is JSON, some other values, and so on. Whatever the recorded session, whatever the attachment that it has done as a part of screenshot, it is generating over here. That is what you will see. And how do we like open the report? So for that, again, go back to our doc. And it says that use the below command to generate the Allure report and open in the browser. So you simply have to say it as npx allure serve allure report. Npx allure serve me the result that have been generated inside this particular things. Okay, say it as npx allure. That means you have used the npx command which used to execute the playwright test case. So here we are saying that npx allure, that means open the allure report from this particular repository. No, sorry, this particular folder or a directory. As soon as you hit enter, you will see that it will generate us a report. So it says that npx allure is not recognized. What is not recognized? Okay, we have a OneDrive available, which is having a space over here, which it is not able to identify in this case. Okay, so in this case, anyways, it will go over here. Let me just try to write it. So this is because there are space in the folder, so it is not able to recognize our script. Let's say it out. Just colon. Probably it might fail over here as well. It says that after this, we have basically a OneDrive and then we have a space over here. So it says that it is not able to recognize. Let me this is our report that we have generated. What is the path inside this? Okay, this is proper. Let's do one thing. I'll just move our something from this one. Let me take it out from here. So we have this one. Just give me a minute. I'll just move our project, which is pwtspon. This is this one from here to some other places so that it will be able to identify. Inside this documents, we have things. So I'm just taking it out on the desktop so that directly we can open. But we'll again be having desktop over here. Okay, let's cancel this for now. Because of having something over here, it is not able to recognize. Let me see if I have this inside this. We have C user free OneDrive document. Okay, by default, I'm just trying to change the location over here so that we'll be able to do this. The same code will also be available inside this. Whatever the code that we have over there, everything are available inside this as well. So let me open this from the report, it says generally that there are a space in between the folders, so I'm not able to recognize. Let's go over here, and from here I'm trying to open this. Everything is in the same way. Let me close this one. Everything the same over here, exactly same. We have inside the Playwright config, we have everything that we have given over here. Now let's go ahead and run again the same command that we have ran in the previous step. Let's see if it is able to recognize for now. So we have npm run test report, which is now saying generating report, right? So inside your organization, it will be available in your cloud platform, and that your DevOps team, if they are working, they'll give you, or your organization will give you the complete um, username and password for this Allure, and that will be automatically generated there. But this is the Allure report that you see on the page. Okay, here it says that total test case ran. What is the trend whenever you run like for a couple of times, you will see that the different trends over here. That means how many test cases have been passed, how many test cases have been failed, and so on. This is saying that the suit, that means it ran inside the Chrome browser. If there will be multiple browser, all those things will be displayed. If you have given the details of environment, all these things will be displayed over here. Categories, if there are any kind of failure, that will come under this categories. Feature by stories, how many test cases have been executed. If you click on show, it will display by a chart, by a test title over here. This is overview. Inside the categories, it will display if there are any failure over here. Those failure test cases will be displayed inside the categories. Inside the suits, whatever the file, whatever the browser that you have run. If you have run multiple browsers, then all the browsers will be displayed over here along with the details. And this details are for the file name that you have given. Inside this file name, it says that there were 6 test cases, along with the title of the test case also will be displayed. If you click on this, you'll see the complete details in the right side. It says that past history, you will see if you run for the couple of times, retries if you're trying to run the test case automatically. Here, you'll see a tag as regression and smoke, the tag that you have given inside the test case. Then severity by default, if you have not mentioned, then it will be automatically taken as a normal inside the Allure report. Total duration that it has taken, all the steps that it has followed, along with the screenshot, along with the video recording that it has taken for this particular test case to complete. So you can see all those video recording as well. It will also be attached inside the report automatically, plus the complete log file also. The complete log file also you will be able to see inside the attached file, inside the report for every test case. Not only for one, for every test case, you will also be able to see this report over here. Okay, graphs, you can see how many test cases passed, failed, severity level, if you have given like normal, any other things inside the test case, inside the tag, those things will be displayed over here. Duration of the test case over the period of time, duration trend, it will display when you run for a couple of times. If you have done also a retries, then we'll see the retries. Categories, if there are failed test case and so on, will be displayed inside this graphs over here. It displays by default. We have not done anything. Timeline for the test case, which test case have been taken, how many seconds, those kind of things, it will be displaying inside this. Behavior is something, the test case that you can find, the test case, like the test case that have been run only with the title, you can also find it out over here. And packages is the complete file details. You can also check it inside this, how many test case passed, failed, and so on. You can also do on Like you can also filter out the test cases that have been passed, failed, and so on over here by flaky test case, failed test case, past test case, which is like broken over here and which is currently running in the test case. Depending on that, you can also filter it out from here. So this is the Allure report basically have been generated, and this is how it will look like. Even again, when you try to run this, this will display in the same way. If there are any failed test case, will display over here as a failed. Okay, and the complete documentation. Probably, let's say if someone might have not like got everything over here, then you can also follow the document that we have discussed over here. And this will give you the complete details of the step that we have to follow to generate the Allure report. Okay, so that's basically about the generation of Allure report over here. Any question till now?
Yes, brother. So
Yes.
in the organization, how this reporting works, like we just run the test cases and they, uh, you
So
mentioned
you
like
will
we get
basically be
some
running
guidance.
inside the CI/CD pipeline. You'll generally be running inside the CI/CD pipeline in your organization. Right? Inside the organization, you will always be running inside the CI/CD pipeline. And when you run it inside the CI/CD pipeline, it will also generate the Allure report. So you can configure email based that, or you can also integrate it with a Slack or whatever the channel that you're trying to use. You can even use an email. So after the completion of test case, automatically it will share you the report or whoever is concerned person. Second thing, whenever you set it inside the Jenkins or any CI/CD pipeline that you are trying to use, there also it will generate the report. So whenever you have to share it with anyone, you can directly copy paste that URL that will be generated inside the report, inside the Jenkins, and that will be shared with everyone over there. Whoever you want to share, you can share the things. We'll also see in the next few minutes for the Jenkins when we set it up over here. There also you'll see like how do we generate the report. How does it generate inside the Jenkins, and how can we share that report to the others?
Okay, okay, thank you. And there is one more question. Can you please go to the package.json?
Mhm.
Yeah. In the package.json, when you run that query for npx for the Allure report, right? Text input that the colon Allure, right? In the same manner, we can execute the test cases for the regression also, right?
This one, yes.
Because you mentioned, yeah, the test colon smoke and test, yeah,
Same, everything.
the
You
regression.
can run, we can run
Because we are
what
hard.
whatever you want to run it over here, you can run it that in same way. However, you have seen over here, you can run in the same way. You can for test QA you want to run, you can just say it as npm run and this. Full test you want to run, npm run and this. Smoke, npm run test colon smoke. So if you just want to see that, let's say npm run test colon smoke, and this will run earlier.
Okay, okay, got
Okay.
it. Thank
So
you.
in it, whatever you have mentioned over here, those things you can run it inside this. Okay. Okay. Now, just go ahead and check for. I'll take like 30 more minutes and we'll end up probably our session. So we'll by then we'll also hopefully we'll finish it off everything. Okay. Now let's go over here to the next one that we have, which is GitHub, to understand GitHub. Okay, so let's go to this. So we have generated over here an Allure report as well. And now let's move to the GitHub. How do we generally work inside the GitHub whenever there will be any kind of like whenever you start working inside the inside the organization, how will you work with GitHub? How do you generally work with any of the other things whenever you start working inside the organization? So how do you set up these kind of things and all? We'll see over here in our sessions today again for the GitHubs. For Jenkins, uh, if if anyone wants to try by self, you can also follow the document. How do you set up Jenkins for all the operating system? It will work. I've given like 13, 14 step, and that will help you to set it up the Jenkins. If anyone already aware of GitHub, that is well and good. If you are not, then you can again stay back over here and see like how do we work with uh, how do we basically work with GitHub in general whenever we have to work inside the organization. Okay, so let's create one file which I'll give the name as, let's say, github.spec.js. Now, what is generally a GitHub is? So GitHub is a version control tool. GitHub is a version control tool. What is version control tool? So version control tool means, so let's say you have one particular application, right? And there are few number of people are available inside the organization who will be working on the same application as a part of the testing team. So it is not only that you will only be working inside the organization. There'll be n number of people who will be working inside the QA as a part of QA, and then everyone will be working inside the same product or same application, right? Now, GitHub help us in storing the different kinds of code. Example, why do we take the help of any cloud version control tool is, or a GitHub or Bitbucket, whichever you are trying to work on will be the same process, whatever we are currently going to discuss right now. Okay, so let's say I have written all this code, right? You are working on some other module, which you have to also push it inside the same repository. So we have one repository that have been created for organization. So what is repo and all, you'll come to know in a few minutes. Okay, so generally GitHub repo will be created. Either GitHub or Bitbucket repo, whichever you are working on will be created. What is the use of that? To store the code. To store the code. And why? To store the code and manage the issue. So why do we basically why do we require to store the code? So example, let's say I have been working on these particular test case, right? And you who along with me working in the same team, and you have been given to check the payment page over here, right? So you have written the code inside your local machine. I have written the code inside my local machine. And then I will not be able to understand what the code you have written. You will not be able to understand what the code you have written. I have written the code for login and adding the product to the cart. And those codes you also required in your system to work with payment, because it is not something that you have to again start completely from login, dashboard, and so on. I have already written, so those already written code, you have to reutilize it inside your system, inside your test cases. Else everything will be duplicated every time, right? So in that case, you need to know what I have written over here. You need to know the function that I have written over here to log in, the function that I have written over here to add the product to the cart or view the details of the product and so on, right? And that is where the version control tool comes into picture. GitHub or Bitbucket or whatever other things that you are trying to use, GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever you are trying to use, is known as a version control tool, so that everyone will be able to collaborate on the same repository. inside the same repository, everyone will be able to collaborate. What is meant by collaboration again? You have given a task to run, create a payment-based test case. So you should require all these details that we have already created. So what I'll do is I'll create these kind of things. And if everything goes well, everything is working fine, what I'll do is I will check the branch that I'm currently working on. We'll discuss again one by one all these things. So what first thing that you will be doing whenever you are trying to work inside the organization, as everyone will be collaborating on the same repository, one repository will be there. Inside that, I'll push the code. However, I try to do it over here, right? Every time you people might be seeing that I try to do something, right? By pushing the code over here. So inside this, this is the repository that we have over here. We have one master branch that we have created and another test branch that we have created, right? This is not the current one that we are currently working. Probably this is the one that we are currently working on. So this is the repository that I have worked on, right? Now, this repository access, you need to get to work on the other part. So whenever you start working on payment, you have to first get all these details over here. Get all these details over here. So generally happens is whenever you go inside the organization, there will always be an existing repository available inside the system, inside your organization. That means someone might have already created a framework. So let's assume a scenario where the, the framework is already being created inside the organization. Okay, so the framework that already been created inside the organization. It is already been created by someone and everyone is trying to use. You are the new person that you have joined inside the organization. You are the new person that you have joined inside the organization. Then what will you have? How will you work? Um, how to work with GitHub in the Allure case? Step by step process. Okay. So number one. So what is step by step? So let's say you have joined in an organization where framework is already existing. That means the framework that they have created or that you will be working on, it is already existing inside the organization. Okay. In that case, how will you start working? How will you have to work? How will you have to collaborate and so on? You have to do it in a better way. Okay. So your responsibility will be to get this particular repository inside your local system. To get this particular repository inside your local system. The UI might be different. I am using a free version of the GitHub. If there are some paid version of the things, UI might look a bit different over here. Okay, UI means user interface that we are checking. Okay. Or if you are using Bitbucket, then there will be a different UI, but the process will always remain same. You have to go to the repository, whichever repository that it have been created, that will be given by your probably QA manager or QA lead, whoever is working there. So they'll give you the repository that you have to clone inside your system. When someone use a word as clone, that means they are asking you to get the code that are already available inside the repository. Okay, for that you can go over here and go to the HTTPS. Either you are using GitHub or Bitbucket will be available this option. Go to the HTTPS and click on this copy URL to clipboard. Copy URL to clipboard over here. Okay. Go over here, copy this and go to the system. Inside your system, you have to first create, however we had seen earlier, that you have to create a folder, and inside that folder you have to do all these kind of things. So first thing that you have to do is create a folder inside your local system, inside your local machine system, okay, where you want to load the report. So why are we trying to create? Why did we create this? So that all the codes will be stored over here, right? So that all the codes will be stored over here inside our local system. Okay, that we also required, that we surely require that, because if you do not need, if you do not have anything available inside your system, right? That means um, you probably need to like every time check where is available inside your system, like every time. So that is where we create a folder, and inside that we can place all the codes that we have written over here. Okay, so for that you have to create a folder inside your local system. Second step is you just have to say, okay, let me show you the step-by-step procedure so that it will be better for you to understand. So let me open a new window over here and create a folder along with this, so that whoever is completely freshers over here, you'll understand. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a folder inside the musics where I'll store the complete data. So for that, I'll say it as, let's say, page object model. I've just given some random name. Probably after our session, I'll delete it because I'll not require this, just for the sake of providing you how does the experience look like. In the same way, you have to do that. So this is what we are trying to do, is we are trying to create a folder over here. Let's wait for some time. It's not responding. So you have to first create a folder inside your system. Anywhere you can try to create it. Okay. So we have created a folder. If you again go over there, the same place, you inside music we have over here. So we have created a folder. That folder you can select it out. Click on select folder. This will open over here. Right. Now our main goal is to get this repository that we have inside our system. Get this repository. For that, you can go to the code. There will be one option known as code. If you already have inside your organization will have a paid version, so they'll give you one option known as clone. And as soon as you click on clone, this path will be copied. Okay, clone using web URL. You can click on this, which will copy the URL of your repository. Okay, and then as you have already created folder to store inside your local system, so you can say it as, let's say, this folder name you can provide it probably your organization name, whatever the organization you'll be working, that organization name you can provide it over here. And then second step that we have is you have to clone the repository, clone the repo using the command this, which is git clone and then repository URL. You just have to say it as git clone, and then whatever the repository URL that you have copied, you can simply paste it over here. And that is what the command is, git clone and then repository URL, git space clone space repository URL over here. Okay, and what you have to do is hit enter. As soon as you hit enter, all the codes that you have written over here that have been that basically have been given over here, which is this is the project name, and inside that whatever we have basically written, all these things have been copied. Okay, but one more thing that you do not see, like where is node modules over here. So node modules is not available. Right? Why it is not available? Because you have not installed it. When you copied, all the codes will be copied, all the files, all the codes, other things will be copied over here. But unless and until you install this, unless and until you install the complete things that are available inside the package.json, node modules will not be available. Okay, so here we have to say it as soon as you clone, after that, the third step is you can also follow this third step as we have already written over here. So that means we have navigated to a folder, and then from there we have cloned the repository, and again go to the terminal and then say it as um, go to the terminal and run the command to install the dependency by saying it as npm install. Simple, npm install. So you can simply go over here and say it as npm install. So npm install means whatever the value that you have given over here will get installed inside your system. Will automatically get installed inside whatever you have given over here. But we are working with a Playwright, right? So we also have to install the Playwright in this case as well. For that, you can say it as npm install Playwright. So as soon as you say npm install Playwright, everything related to Playwright will be added over here. Inside our repository will be like whatever it has to be, it has to add over here. Those things will be added over here, and all the details inside this you will also be able to see. So why this node modules is not available? Because I believe inside this git ignore we have given a node modules to ignore this. Okay, inside this get modules we have given to ignore these modules. So that is why it has not been given a node modules over here. But as soon as you clone this, you have to for sure say that npm install, which will install all the dependencies that you have given, that you have inside the package.json. Okay. Now after this, you will have a requirement. That means you have completely set it up the repository inside your local system. Any question over here?
Yes, Praveen. One question on the npm install. You said that when we, apply this command, the dependencies will get installed along with the values. But that when we do the cloning, can't the dependency come? Does it require a separate command to get it applied?
Dependency will appear. Dependency will, whatever dependency that you have given, this will appear over here inside the system, inside the package.json. But you have not installed anything inside your system right now, right? At this point of time, at the time of cloning, you did not install anything. So you have to say it as npm install. When you say npm install, whatever the dependency that have been mentioned inside your package.json will be installed inside the project. Okay.
Okay.
Now, why do you have to install this? Because probably these details might not be available inside your system to install these kind of things. Let's say you might argue saying that, okay, I have already installed Playwright. So why should I again install this? What about this XLSX? What about .env? Probably there might be a chances you might not have installed this, right? So whenever you say npm install, whatever the dependencies that you have given over here will get automatically installed inside our project. Okay.
Praveen,
Yes.
is that not true? Like whatever dependency we download, it remains in the node module. Since when we copy it, we don't have the node module. That's the reason we have to install it, all the packages.
Generally, what happen is, you are right. Generally, what happen is node modules we might not be sharing along with the inside the GitHub.
Yeah, if you put that in a Git ignore, it won't. But if you go
Right.
to your company packages, if you look over there, generally they put the node module.
If they have, then it will come inside automatically the node modules. In that case, you do not have to provide an npm install. But again, just to be on a safer side, we can do that. Just to be on a safer side, when I talk about that means if something is later not working, anyways, you'll have to do an npm install. But if node modules is already available inside your package, inside your system, inside your repository, and if it have automatically been pulled over here, then we do not have to do npm install. Okay, just to be on a safer side, it is always better to do an npm install, so that if there is any dependencies which have not been installed, which will again be available inside the node modules, that will also be installed inside your system. Okay.
Sure.
So if node modules is available, there is nothing. But usually I follow this to whenever I do any kind of cloning, I used to do a things that to go for an installation, which will install once again to check it out. If it is already installed, we'll skip. If not, then it will update those things.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right. Okay. So after that, what will happen is you will get some kind of working requirements, right? So you are ready with everything installation over here, and later you will get one requirement. Let's say your requirement is to do some kind of test cases. Okay, some task for creation of a test case, creating the test case. Now, how will you do is, so as soon as you install, as soon as you clone, along with this, the whatever the branches that will be available. What is branches? I'll talk about git branch. So whatever the branches that will be available over there will get installed inside our system. cd not installed, but will pull it inside our project. So branch means basically we can say like it's normally like when you see some trees, right? There'll be different branches. So in the same way, repository is working as a tree, and most of the people, like everyone who will be working over there, they'll be creating one their own branch for feature related. So let's say you have some feature that you have started working on, then you can create a branch related to that particular feature. Branch means that you are working on so and so specific things along with the feature name that you can provide. So that means everyone will be able to understand that, okay, whatever you are creating for so and so things or some particular things. Later at the end, anyways, whatever your local branch that you have created or the feature branch that you have created will anyways be merged to the master. That also I'll be talking. But it's something that you are specifically working on things, and for that you will be creating one new branch which will uh, basically have, by the time you like, if you have not pushed the code to the GitHub and merged it to the master, others might not be able to see the same branch. So how will you check like what are the branches that are available inside the code? We were talking about this one, right? So inside this, if you see, we have a branch. This is known as a branch. What is branch? Branch will consist of a different versions of code. Okay, so this is a master branch, which probably every organization follows in the standard way itself, unless like they create some fancy branches. Master branch will be the master branch inside every organization. What is that means? Probably you will not be working directly on that branch. Master branch, you do not have to push any kind of code directly from your local system. Whatever you, whatever the feature, whatever the test case that you will be working inside your system, you will be creating one separate branch for that. Later, once you push your code, you'll be creating a pull request by going through the pull request. And from there um, you have to ask for the approval to push your code from your branch to a master branch, which will be generally a release branch. It is also known as a release branch, where all the QA members or all the development members whoever have been contributed, all the codes will be stored inside one branch known as, let's say, a master branch. Some people will use a release branch, some organization will use a master branch. Okay, so how do you check like what are the different branches are available in the repository that you are trying to work? So for that, you can say it as git and branch over here. And this will return you the total number of branches that are available that basically have been um, not the deleted one, but whichever is active, you'll be also getting over here inside your local system. Now what you have to do. So let's say you have, as a part of the sixth, you have completed. But before that, before you start working on the code, make sure you have created a feature specific branch. Okay, using the command, whatever the command that it says. So let's say example, someone is working on login page. Okay, so at that point of time, you can create a login page branch over here. And how do you create a branch? How do you create a new branch? Currently, we have one branch, which is master. Later, how will you create? This is not the repository. This is the one. See here, we can say it as git branch. And you see that we have a master branch over here. So always remember, probably this step that we have written is for the first time. So whenever you clone, you can directly start on this. But later, okay, later is for the later itself. We'll talk about that in next 5 minutes. So what you have to do is to create a branch over here is to, how do we create a branch? So you have to create a branch related to your feature, whatever you are working on. Let's say login page. Okay. So for that, you can say it as git checkout minus b. Git checkout minus b will help us in creating a new branch. Git checkout minus b will help us in creating a. But when you say it as git checkout and branch name, git checkout and branch name will take you to that specific branch which have already been created. So let's say example, if you want to create a new branch, you have to say it as git checkout minus b. And then what we are trying to do over here is we are trying to create a branch over here. So same things that you can follow it over here. Git checkout minus b and then branch name. So let's say I'll just say it as login page. Okay. What it does is it created a branch and it switched to the newly created branch over here. It automatically switched from master to login page. How do we know that? If you again make it as a git branch, you will see that this star mark that was appearing on master, now this time it will appear on login page. Wherever you see the star mark, that means you are inside that particular branch inside your repository. Okay. Now it have been switched to the branch that you have created over here, feature related or whatever the branch name that the organization is following, in the same way you have to follow. So you have created a login page branch over here, and then you start creation of your code. In the next line, you will start creating the code, right? You will start creating the test case. Let's say after completion of the code you have started creating, whatever the code that you have made it over here, you have to also like whatever the test case that you have created for whatever the code that you have written for creation for running of your test case over here. You can check it out however you want to run the test case. You can check it out. If everything goes well, if everything work well, then what you have to do is you have to check what are the like basically changes that you have made. So when you say it as a changes that you have made, you can simply check it with by checking it as git status by providing a command known as git status. Git status, if you have made it any kinds of changes, let's say I'll just say it as I'll just do some kind of things which is The tag that we have added, we have not pushed it, so it is not available over here. I'm just trying to make some changes inside one file. Okay. If you have changed anything or added anything, it will be reflected over here. Now it says that modified. It says that this have been modified, and when you say it as a git status, this will say that, okay, you have modified so and so file. If you have added something, then it will say like added so and so. If you have updated, and it says that modified. Okay. Now you are 100% sure that whatever the code that you have written is working and not breaking any other things, any existing thing. Later, what you have to do is you have to basically commit your code. Commit, that means push your code. Basically have to push the code to the remote repository. But how will you do that? To push the code, we have to use this. But before that, before pushing the code, you have to first check it, what kind of changes that you have made, whether that is correct or not. And later it will also give you this kind of value. That means after checking the status, you have to add this file so that it will be available for committing your changes. So you have to commit. That means probably if you have worked with a database, at the end we say it as commit, right? So commit means you have committed the changes and you are ready to be added wherever you are trying to add. Okay. So in this case, the next step that you have to do is you have to just say it as git add space dot. If you want to add all the files that you have worked on, then you can simply say it as git add space dot. If you are just trying to add this particular file, let's say one particular file, then you can simply make it as git add and then file name that you have copied, that the file name that you want, that basically you are trying to push the code. Generally, mostly you will be using like git add dot, because you will only be working whatever it has given you the task for. Whichever you have alongside updated, probably you will remove the code if it is not necessary inside your task. So after that, what will you do is you will simply say it as git add dot. Okay, git add dot means whatever the changes that you have done, those files have been added to your local Git repository inside your local Git. Okay, there will be two Git. One will be available inside your local system, and other will be available inside your repository that you like this what it says, remote system, remote repository. Okay, and after that you have to say you are committing your changes. So you have to commit your changes, whatever you have to work on. And how will you commit that? By saying git commit -m. -m means you are also trying to provide some kind of message over here. Okay, so git commit -m and then provide the message that you are trying to provide over here inside the code, inside the single quote or double quote. You can provide it over here and say it as, let's say, added tags example. Okay, and you can hit enter. As soon as you do this, all the changes that you have done have been committed inside your local Git. Have been committed inside your local Git. Local Git means whenever you try to do a Git clone, it will initialize a Git inside your local system. Inside that, everything have been committed. But still, you will not find inside your repository, inside your remote repository. You will not find those branch over here unless and until you push your code. Unless and until you push your code, you will not find that particular changes still available inside your repository, inside your remote. So to push your code, you have to follow the same command, which is it has mentioned over here, git push. If you are working for a first time, then you can mention the origin and also the branch name over here. But let's see, it will automatically suggest what you have to do. So when you say it as a git push, it says that, oh, we are not on this repository. So here we have already committed, so you can simply say it as git push. And as you have created a new repository, so it will ask you to commit it in this way, which is git push -set -upstream origin and then local branch. So this like This suggestion will automatically be given by whenever you are trying to work on by creating a new branch over here. Okay, it says that get push minus minus set minus upstream origin and then login page over here, which is your branch name that you have given. Next time again, whenever you try to work on, let's say what I'll do is I'll just make it as a push, and whatever the changes that you have made, it will be pushed inside your remote repository. See, it says that this particular branch have been created and has pushed the code 1 second ago. I can just refresh this, and inside your branch, you can see that there is another branch came into picture now, which is login page. Okay, so this command for pushing the code that you see, this command for pushing the code from your local Git to the remote Git will be for the first time itself. Now let's say I'll again modify something over here. I'll just provide, let's say some space over here. I've just given some space in this case. And again, when you start working on, if you have committed, if you have made all the changes, you can check it out Git status. It is saying again modified. You have to again add your code by saying git add space dot, then provide a git commit added space. Okay, and this time you can just simply use a git push because on the same branch name you are again working on. So for the first time you have to use this one, which is get push minus minus set upstream. But now when you start working, you can simply say it as, when you have already pushed the code, you can simply say it as git push, and whatever the changes that you have pushed, it have been pushed over here. It says that within like whatever the seconds, within 9 seconds ago, we have pushed the code. Okay, still the things are not clear. So then you will basically be going to this particular inside, like there'll be different process where you have to get the review from the team after creating a PR. So what you have to do is some of the organization will manually follow this. Some of the organization will have automatic creation of the pull request. So here what you have to do is you have to simply say click compare and pull request. Okay, if there will be any changes, whatever the changes that you have to do, you like all the changes will appear over here. Whatever the changes that we have done over here, this will all automatically appear. And then you can give a title if you want to give any detailed title that you can provide it, and you can say it as a create pull request. Okay, and later you also have to add the reviewers, whoever your QA team, QA lead or QA manager, whoever wants to, or your peer, or like whoever is working along with you, if they wants to review, you have to tag them over here to review them. And then after that, if everything gets approved, have been approved by the team members over here, later, you have to come over here. As I said, like UI might be changed for the paid and free version. So you'll get one option known as merge pull request. Okay, if there are no conflicts, if there are, if it have been approved by the team members, whoever is working over there, then you can simply go and click on a merge pull request. Okay. Before that, let me go to this one because we have changed a lot many things. So we'll go to this, and we are on the branch itself, which is master. Good. And let's do one thing, delete for now everything from here. Git and report have also been sent. Okay. Okay. Something have been failed over here inside this. That is fine. So okay. And then we have done this with that. Okay, there are something that have been failed. Okay, let it be for now. I'll see it up. So once everything have been completed, you can simply go and click on merge pull request, confirm merge, and that will merge all the changes to your master branch. Everything will be merged to your master branch. And all the codes that you have pushed have been merged to the master branch as well. Whatever the things that you have pushed, whatever the comment changes that you have done will be pushed to the master branch over. Okay. This is the process happens when you start working on specifically as a new part. Okay. Now, whenever you have to, you are the person who are trying to create a framework completely from scratch. If you are the person who are trying to create the framework from scratch and you are the person who are also creating the repository, then it is like new things that you have. Generally, it will not be the case. But in case if it is like, let's say you started working in a startup where you are the person who are trying to create the repository, then whichever uh, cloud platform that they are working, you can go to inside that you can go to the repository and click on new repository over here. And here you have to provide the new repository name and then click on a create repository. Okay. As soon as, let's say, I'll just say it as test. And inside your organization, you have to select as a private. Inside your organization, you have to select it as a private because you do not want anyone outside of the organization to access this. So that you have to say it as a private and then click on create repository. You also have to add a README file, which will give the details to the your colleague who will be joining or whoever is already inside the organization, that how do you run the file, how do you run the test cases and so on. And all these steps that it has given is what you have to follow to create the like branches, initialize it inside your local system, and then after performing any kind of changes, how do you have to push it is what it has given inside this. So whatever step that it has given, we have to follow in a process when you are the one who started working on the repo from the scratch. Okay. So this will be the scenario where you have to perform any other things whenever you work as a new like you are working as a person who is trying to create the repository. But here also happens something. So now let's say you have finished working on a login page and then you have given a task to automate, let's say, a payment page. Automate, let's say, a payment page. Okay. Now what you have to do is you will again come back to your repository, right? You'll again come back to your local system. Okay. And here what you have to do is probably there might be a chances that some of your colleagues have already worked on dashboard page. And some of the colleagues have already worked on, let's say, a cart page example. And some of them already have worked on some table validation page, some kind of things, the order history validation page. Okay, order history. So these changes also you have to get it inside your local system. All these changes you have to get it inside your local system. Okay. So for that, what you have to do is you have to check first which branch you are currently in. Okay. So for this, again, when you start working on, what you have to do is, as a part of step 9, you have to say it like go to your repo inside the local system, inside the local machine, and run the command. Run the command like git branch to check which branch you are currently in. Okay, so you can simply go and check which branch you are currently in over here, saying that git branch. So this will say like login page. From here, you have to move to the master branch. From here, you have to move to the master branch, because we know that master branch is a branch which will consist of all the details of all the codes that have been worked by different number of people inside your organization. Okay, so from here you have to move to the master branch. And how do we move to the master branch? To create a branch, we have a command. To create a branch, we have a command known as git checkout -b and then this. Whatever the things that you are trying to create over here, this is the branch name. Okay, but from switching from one branch to another, right? To switch from one branch to another, we have a command known as git checkout and then branch name. Git checkout branch name. So here in this case, you have to go to the master branch. So you can simply say it as git checkout master. Okay, it says that we have some changes over here. So for now, I'll make it as simply here. Okay, so here we again have to switch to the master branch, right? So how do we switch is by simply using git checkout master. It will take us to the master branch right now. And inside the master branch, we have to get the latest code available. So here again, we have to pull the latest changes from the remote repository to our local system. Pull the latest change from the remote repository to our local system. Now, how do we pull that? Simply by using git pull. Once you say it as a git pull, if there are any changes available inside your master branch, all the changes will be pushed in this way. All the changes will be pulled, like basically pulled inside your master branch in this way. So if there will be any changes, all the changes that have been done by your colleagues or whoever was working on any of the other branches, any of the other um, uh, like test cases or development of any of the test case, all the things will be pushed inside your master branch. And once you start working on any of the feature branch, you again have to follow the same thing, which is before you start working on, you have to create all these things, and then same steps you have to again follow from step number over here. Okay, repeat the below steps. So on the top of master branch, you can again create another branch and then work in the same way. However, you have to work in the same. Okay, but there can be a scenario. Let's say you have started working on this particular feature, which is a payment page. On the payment page, you have started, but you have went for a long break. Let's say, for example, went for a long break. Okay, there might be a chances that whatever the master branch you have pulled, there might be a lot of other changes have been happened inside the master branch. There might have been a lot of changes that have already been pushed by some of your colleagues, right? So again, what you have to do is you have to go to the master branch. Let's say you again came back and started working on a payment page, right? Payment page. So you have already existing some of the code. What you can do is again work on and finish the complete test case and go till like get status, then git add dot, and then from here go to this step, which is git commit m and then some message. Okay, before you push this particular code, you also have to get the changes that have been done in between by your team members. Okay, that means you have to get all the changes that are available inside the master branch by your colleagues or by your team members. And for that, what you have to do is you have to rebase the changes, rebase the master branch, rebase the master branch into your feature branch. What is rebasing? Rebasing means whatever the changes in between have been done by your team members will also come inside your master branch, which will also come inside your feature branch that you are currently working on. So let's say example payment page. So what you have to do is you go to this particular step, git add, git commit, and then here you can again switch to the master branch, which is get checkout master. Switch to the master branch in this case. Switch to the master, or if it is release branch, then that particular branch. Okay, and then pull the latest changes. How will you pull? We have just seen that git pull will pull the latest changes inside the master branch. Okay, and from here again move back to your feature page, feature branch. How will you move? Again by saying git checkout and then feature branch over here, which will switch to the feature branch. And then you have to rebase this. So how will you rebase this? It's by simply saying it as git rebase and then branch that you are trying to rebase your changes. Rebase means getting the like recent changes that have been done inside your master branch. So you simply have to use a git in the same step. Step are exactly same, however we follow. So you simply have to say it as git rebase master, and then again after this, if it is successful, then you can check the status. If everything goes well, if there are no nothing like conflict kind of are there, if there are any conflict, you have to resolve that by going through the code changes, whatever the code changes that you have done and whatever it is available inside a master branch, you have to go and see which change you have to keep it inside that. So you have to check it out, like get status. If everything goes well, it will say like everything is clear, and then you have to push your code. How will you push your code? Over here, you have to push the code by making it as a forceful push. Git push minus minus force over here. This is what you have to say to forcefully push your code inside the feature branch. And again, from there, you have to follow the same process that we have just seen, like feature branch. And then from there, whatever the changes that you have pushed, you'll have to open the PR, like pull request, get the approval, and then merge that to your master branch. Okay, so this is the complete process that we generally follow in terms of working with the GitHub. Either you start as a fresh, or you start as a newcomers, or if you are already working inside the organization, then how do you have to start is what we have seen in our complete steps over here. Any question in this case?
Yes.
Praveen, one question.
Yes.
Okay, I guess I interrupted someone else. If not, I can go ahead. Okay.
Good.
Uh, yeah. So, I understand that whenever we have written the code, it will be there in a local. Then we are pushing to our branch. From there, we are pushing to master branch or the next level branch. That's fine. But there was a comment you mentioned from master branch. We are checking the local. I didn't understand that part. But from okay, probably once we have switched to master branch, we need to transfer the code from the our branch to master. That's what is needed. But when you say check local, I didn't understand that part, Ravi.
Which step you're talking about? Check local.
Uh, the step is give me a moment.
Mhm.
Master.
So what is the scenario you're discussing over here? So you have done some kind of changes over here is what you are talking about?
No, I'm mentioning about changes like you have shifted to the or switched to the master branch.
Master branch, right? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So what
Master
happened
branch need
is,
to have the code from your branch.
no, what happened is, let's say you have started working on payment page. Okay. And that have taken some days, let's say 5 days or 10 days to complete your complete requirement. Okay. In that period, there might be some of your colleague or team members might have already pushed the code inside the repository.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those changes also you need to get it inside your feature branch. whichever feature branch that you have created, or whichever branch that you are currently working on. Okay. Why? Because anyways, before merging to the master, you need to have all the latest changes available inside your master. Else, there might be chances that your code will override some of the codes that are already available inside master branch. There might be chances. Okay.
Okay,
So
that
what
means
what you have to do is, before pushing your code or before merging your code to the master, you have to get all the changes, all the latest changes that are available inside a master branch. Okay.
oh, understood.
So as you are working on a feature branch, so from there, do this kind of things: git status, whatever changes are there, add that to the local git, commit that to the local git, but by following all these 3 steps. Then move to the master branch. How will you move to the master branch? By just providing a git checkout master. Here again, make a git pull, which will pull all the latest changes that are available inside the master. Then again, move back to your feature branch, whichever feature branch that you have created, by saying git checkout feature branch. And from there, just do a git revise master. Git revise, probably you also have to do like origin. You can also place it as origin, or you can also directly do it as like master, origin/master you can also do, which will pull all the latest changes that are available inside your master branch in your local system to your feature branch. Okay. And from there, we have to push the code to the repository that you are like the branch that you are currently working on. You have already committed over here, so that you have to also push to get reflected inside the remote repository, so that you can make it as a git push -- force, which will push all the changes, whatever you have done inside your system, inside your branch, to your remote branch that you have created newly.
No, no.
Okay.
Can you please explain the last step? It will push whatever the codes, the branch to the remote branch. I didn't understand that. The line number 38.
So line number 38, whatever the changes that you have done inside the payment page branch, those branch will be pushed over there inside the GitHub repository or Bitbucket repository. And then from there, again, you have to follow the same process to open a PR, get the approval, and merge the code to the master branch.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
Right.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty much about the GitHub. I believe it's a long session. Pretty much long session, so probably I would like to stop the session over here. Meanwhile, for the Jenkins setup, it's pretty easy. What you can do is you can follow this step over here. You can follow the steps that we have gone through inside our document. There are steps that have been mentioned to set up the like the document that we are talking about from the Playwright automation document. You will get the complete steps of setting up the Jenkins over here. Okay, so set it up the Jenkins from here. Completely will be able to set it up from this. But this setup also I'll show you like how do we do from the Jenkins, which is again simple. I'll also provide you like the session for this as well. And with that, we'll basically mark the complete of the session, but we'll also provide you something which is how do we set up a Playwright MCP. This will be an extra things which I'll show you like how do you how can you take the help of an AI system or some kind of AI to generate the framework, generate the code inside our system automatically. Okay. So there'll be one again session where we'll finish it off like Jenkins, going through the Jenkins and Playwright MCP setup to check how does it work in general inside the system. Okay. With that, we'll mark the session as closed. But as I said earlier, if there will be any kind of things that you would like to understand as a part of the customize, you can just let me know and I'll connect with you further to provide you the provide you the logic that you have to go through with that. Okay. So for now, I'll stop the session over here for today. With if just like to check any question over here for now. Okay. If nothing else, then Jenkins part, I'll also share you the recorded session. But for this last session, I'll keep you posted. Like we can connect in either on Monday or Tuesday. We'll connect on this to understand how do we set up the Jenkins and how do we set up the Playwright MCP inside our system to work with. Plus, I would also request you people to like as a part of the assignment that used to be for the capstone project, you have to write at least 10 different test cases inside this one. You can basically pull this, like clone this repository inside your system and extend it. Or if you want to create it completely from scratch, you can take the same application or any other application that you would like to, but create it and get back to me again with the assignment, having at least 10 test cases for the different pages. Like at least one test case available should be available inside the different pages. And come back to me for the validation. We'll try to check it out. And if there will be any kind of improvement, again, I'll suggest you. Another part of the things again we'll discuss in the next session. So I'll let you know regarding the next session. Either it will be on a Monday or it will be on a Tuesday, but I'll let you know regarding the session, which will be Jenkins and Playwright MCP setup, and that will mark our session with the course. Okay.
Sure.
Any this
Could you
group
please
again
put
will be
today?
active. The group that we have created and that you are currently in will be active for next couple of months. Like everyone will be active over there. Any kind of questions, any kind of things that you have, you can also post in the group, or you can directly like ping me as well for any kind of help that you have.